You're listening to Real Crime, the Movie Sleuth podcast.
Now that's more like it. Everybody shuts up and lets the girl talk. This isn't your guys' fault. It's usually Chris that screws it up. In the last 5 episodes, somebody has to be going making some dumb fart noise or something before we start actually doing the damn show. And
only the most sophisticated humor of the movie.
You were here last week, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were here. Yeah, we got a repeat with you. Chris, you're back. Well, Chris Jordan. Of course, our fearless leader, Mr. Chris George, is in the corner playing with himself right now. And you can see that on the camera because we're live again on the camera tonight. Is this Facebook Live?
Yes.
I'm not up on all this technology stuff.
It is.
So we're Facebook Live. The lovely Michelle's in the corner.
Hello.
Hello.
That means the Zuck's watching.
Oh, yeah, the Zuck is watching tonight. From whatever hotel he's hiding in right now. Gee, that's a whole show in and of itself. Holy crap.
It is.
We started talking about that before you guys got here, and we got derailed on something else. But, yeah, definitely interesting things happening on Capitol Hill today. But that'll be for some other time when we do our technology show or something. I don't know. We'll do something sometime down the road, and we'll bitch about Mark Zuckerberg.
Yep.
But this Zuck is probably watching us. So, Mr. Zuckerberg, hello. Thank you for the camera thing, whatever. Zuck bought it for us.
Yeah, he did. He paid for it.
He paid for everything here. This whole studio he paid for. So thanks, Zuck. This is Real Crime, episode number 80. God damn.
Kind of crazy, isn't it?
A lot of shows. A lot of shows. We're getting up there. We're really getting up there.
We can get the senior special at like IHOP now.
Yeah, totally. Totally. We have a lot to cover with the master subject of the show tonight. So, Chris, what's happening this week?
Well, first thing, like usual, we're going to mention the Flint Institute of Arts. I will be out there next Thursday at 10:30 a.m. for their media day. They're opening a bunch of new exhibits there, so we'll be there for that.
And you picked that day when all of us are out of town.
Yeah, sadly. Also, make sure to check out projectorscreen.com. At the Movie Sleuth this week, definitely check out Rachel's coverage of C2E2. She wrote up a really good article on that one. And also, we've got a new rating system coming on the website this week. So make sure to look out for that.
When I actually get our review done.
Yeah.
I'm totally slacking. That'll be interesting to see that. Moving along.
In news, TJ Miller was arrested for making a bomb threat this week.
Thanks, TJ.
Yeah, thanks, TJ, you bastard. Also, Daniel Craig says that Bond 25 is officially his next movie. So, he is coming back after saying for years that he was not going to come back.
They gave him a lot of money, a big bag of money.
Yeah, something's going on with him, too. He had some weird, cosmetic surgery or something. He looks really weird now.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, he looks weird.
Well, he's going to have more now with that satchel of money he was getting.
Yep. Also, the Deadwood movie is closer to a green light. The producers of the film said they're actually going to get the movie made using the California tax credit. So Deadwood is coming to screens pretty soon. And last in news this week, there's really not a lot going on, but Matthew McConaughey's White Boy Rick movie has once again been pushed back. It was initially supposed to be out this spring, then it got pushed to August, and now it's pushed back all the way to September.
I want to sell you some cocaine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look right over there, that cocaine.
In new releases this week, we've got the Dwayne Johnson movie Rampage, based on the video game.
I want to see that.
I'm seeing it tomorrow night.
Are you?
Yeah.
That'll be fun. Dwayne Johnson is actually pretty awesome. I'm starting to really love
He's
that.
Fun,
He's
you know.
Fun. You know, he's a damn good. Well, I think anybody who comes from wrestling is going to be a really good actor. I'm just saying. I mean, how many great actors have been spawned? He's just one of many that have come out of wrestling. So good for him. And yeah, I actually want to see that because that was a great game too. That was a fantastic game. The original Rampage, the arcades, was a lot of fun.
And then Blumhouse has their new release, Truth or Dare, coming out this week. Blake P is seeing that tonight. So
okay.
So we'll have reviews of those two this weekend. And other than that, nothing.
Just a dead void out there.
Yeah, it's pretty much a dead void this week. Suggested viewings. I actually had a chance to see Chappaquiddick last week.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. It is really, really good.
Yeah.
So Jason Clarke does a great job playing drunk ass Ted Kennedy, killing chicks, driving them into the water, drowning them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was really good. Really, really good film. So if you get a chance, see Chappaquiddick.
Okay. Michelle.
Mine's going to be Isle of Dogs, the new Wes Anderson stop motion film.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good. If you liked Fantastic Mr. Fox, it's like more of the same kind of thing, set in Japan. And I personally thought it was pretty respectful of the culture. Like, I know there's kind of like a brouhaha about it being cultural appropriation, but I thought it was done pretty well, in my personal opinion. And it's definitely worth checking out in the theater. I think it's limited release still now. Might be wide now. Wide in like a week or so.
Cool.
Okay.
Sweet Chris.
All right. Well, so my recommendation is going to be the Arrow screener that I reviewed this week for Robert Altman's very seldom seen movie Images. It was this it's not one that I recommend to everybody, but just very kind of strange, surreal, dreamy, kind of psycho thriller, like I say in my review, that it sort of feels a lot like a midpoint between Repulsion and Let's Scare Jessica to Death. So,
Yeah.
if that sounds like your cup of tea, I'd recommend
Sounds
it.
like mine.
And I mean, otherwise, I've pretty much just been watching the movies for our topic tonight. So, yeah.
I am going to go off into the weeds for this one. Given the subject matter of tonight's show, I spent every minute I had over the weekend preparing for the show, basically. However, I would like to suggest a podcast. So suggested listening. We did a show a couple weeks ago on retro gaming / classic gaming. There's a group of people who do a podcast called the Antic Podcast. And it basically is nothing but a podcast about Atari computers from back in the day, right? Which we spent a lot of time in that show. We talked about classic gaming on Atari games and home gaming and stuff like that. The Antic Podcast is fantastic. I've been listening. They have so much out there to listen to. And I've been listening to every single one, but I've been really focusing on, they do what they call them like interview episodes with old programmers, designers, I mean, all the way down to like game testers. Like they'll do like a 20-minute interview with somebody who like spent 6 months just testing games for Atari, like some college people who had a co-op job. Cool. So they talk to everybody, right? And I find it fucking fascinating. And there's just, because some of these guys, they get very technical too. If you're a tech head, they get really into the deep coding. They've talked to people, for example, who actually designed the actual, the boxes themselves, and how they had, for example, they had to design, these old machines, they threw a lot of radiation off, for example. So they had to find ways to fix those problems. So you get to hear a lot of really great stuff, especially if you're my age, about your favorite games and favorite consoles when you were a kid, and the hard work these guys had to put in to make this stuff happen. I think it's just magic. This was a lot of work on a lot of people, and you get to hear all about that. And it's called the Antic Podcast, just the word Antic. Which is named after a computer, basically. Check that out. I've spent a lot of time listening to that, just on my bike rides and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm kind of going off the thing a little bit, but check that out. It's another cool podcast to check out. Totally free. Not, they just put it out there because they want to keep that knowledge alive and keep the spirit of the classic gaming, such as the Atari gaming, alive too. And that's their only reason for doing it, which I find absolutely awesome. So check that out, Antic Podcast. Yeah.
Cool.
Totally fucked you guys up on that one, but hey, that's no problem. Okay, so tonight, dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun,
The word's been out there. Well, you do this Monday thing now, Chris. So you let the cat out of the bag the night before.
Well, we got to let people know what we're doing.
No, we don't.
Yes, we
We
do.
don't need to tell them anything. This is a secret operation,
It's a
man.
spoiler-free site.
Yeah.
I was telling everybody all week, so even if he didn't.
Well, yeah, you were talking about that. Yeah.
Fucking
People
spoilers, Michelle.
now, from a personal standpoint, well, I think this is awesome that we're going to be, and I know people do like these shows because we've done shows where we've done like directors, for example, like the Paul Thomas Anderson episode we did.
Yeah.
We just talked about all his movies, the ones he's directed. People kind of like when we kind of dial in here, and it does, these are shows you got to put work into.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like some of these ones we can come in here and just kind of riff for an hour, hour and a half. It's fun, right? But these are shows you got to put work into. So the decision was made from up on high. The board of directors said, we need you guys to do a Nightmare on Elm Street retrospective, basically. Like
It was Freddie. He ordered it.
Freddie approved it.
He said, "Do it,
Yeah.
bitch."
He said, ha ha ha. Do it, bitch. Yeah, do it. Yeah. Do it, bitch.
Yeah.
There you go. That's how.
There
that's
you
the
go.
voice.
Okay.
So that's what we're gonna do tonight.
It's sad though because this isn't on the prime time.
No. So I don't know how we really want to approach this though. I personally put together a pretty elaborate spreadsheet for this damn thing. Which
I saw that. That
Yeah.
was pretty impressive.
yeah, I put together like this really serious thing that I'm going to be using as my little guide for tonight. But do we want to go chronologically?
Yes.
I think that makes the
I
most
think, yeah,
sense.
totally.
I think so too. Yes.
Okay, so Chris, I want you lead off with the original Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984.
Well,
right?
I mean, my history with this film, it's kind of funny because I had never really been introduced to much horror prior to the original Nightmare on Elm Street. I believe I had only seen the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2
Yeah.
in like Poltergeist, And I remember being a kid, I think in middle school probably,
Yeah.
and my Aunt Kathy, had seen Nightmare on Elm Street and had been telling us about it. And my mom was like, no. You're not watching that movie. You're not watching that movie. And it was out on video at this point because it came out to VHS pretty damn quick.
Yeah.
It kind of got that cult following really fast and made its way to VHS.
Yeah.
And I remember my dad taking me to the video store that was right by us, Video House East, and having to be on a wait list to get them to check the movie out, to rent
man.
it,
It was that hot.
Yeah. And because I got one copy,
Yeah.
waiting like 4 weeks to finally get this movie. And I remember watching it and my mom just mad, like, oh, I cannot believe you're letting him watch this, But it was freaky.
That's awesome.
The first
Well,
Nightmare on Elm Street it's
It's a freaky film, and it's
is.
an adult film too. I mean,
yes,
there's some
it's
probably
dark.
one of the most outlandish, loud, insane sex scenes you'll ever hear in a movie is in Nightmare on Elm Street. It's completely insane. I've never heard two people get it on like that in my life before, because it really doesn't happen that
You've
way.
never been in my bedroom. No.
It'd be after the show, yeah. But it was very much an adult film.
It was.
Now, my take on this, I kind of even like rated all these films on my elaborate spreadsheet. And this personally, for me, I want to hear what you guys have to say. This was my favorite. I mean, this is,
Oh, yeah.
and I hate to be like, well, yeah, the old stuff was the best. But this really was, I think, this was the vision of what Freddy was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Right? Wes Craven directed this. And I think this is what this dark figure, nothing good about this character, Freddy Krueger. And that's as simple as it is. The character was dark looking. And one thing I want to point out, I'm going to shut the fuck up here, I promise. But one thing I want to point out that I noticed watching this entire, this franchise over the last few days is that the way Freddy Krueger looked in this film, to me, which probably makes it my favorite, is that this was the grossest he ever looked. He was oily, grotesque, like all his abrasions were fresh, right?
Interesting.
That's what I noticed with the way Freddy Krueger
Well, and if
looked.
you notice too, through the chronological order of the movies, his burns and scars look less and less and less.
That's my point.
Yeah. By
know-
the time you get to Freddy's Dead, he just looks like a walking prosthetic. Like
Now-
there's no
well, yeah.
real detail
Now-
to his
now-
facial features.
Yeah,
anymore.
and maybe that was the idea. Like over time, he starts to dry out. I don't know.
Well, also they have different people doing his makeup too.
Exactly.
In every movie, and they have their own style. And
Yeah.
I think also as the movie progressed, Robert Englund himself became more famous. And if you notice, his features are more prominent in the later films because, like, he really is Freddy. Like, that's like he embodies Freddy, which
Yeah.
is, as an aside, is why one of the reasons I don't like the remake is because they make. I know people are like, oh, it's more realistic. His features are all burnt off, but it's just like there's no character to him.
No.
But
Yeah.
I think us like I said, it's just different makeup artists too, just doing his makeup different.
But he looked absolutely grotesque.
Yeah, the
in
first one
original.
he looks they hardly show his face.
Well, that's the thing too, is that you got that darkness about
Yeah.
the character. You know,
Yeah.
you don't show him full on.
Yeah, and that's why actually his makeup is different in the rest of them, because I was rewatching some of Never Sleep Again
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
this, and they so didn't think that the first one was going to launch a franchise that they did not take behind the scenes pictures of how that makeup was done.
Okay.
And then when they brought in the new makeup designer for the sequel, he basically had the first film on VHS to watch. And that was what he was working from.
Oh, wow.
And because it's such a darkly lit movie, and like, you know, he had like some people's behind the scenes shots, but there wasn't the sort of like detailed records that they then took from
Right.
then on. So he was basically just kind of like winging it. And he was like, well, what the hell did you guys do here? I can't see how you designed that.
Yeah.
For exactly that reason.
Now, also, like one of my things, and I want to hear what you like your observations too, because I was kind of digging deep into this film.
Yeah.
And I literally wrote this little blurb here that I want to just note down. The whole mood of this movie is very dreamlike, which I know ties into, you know, the whole idea,
Yeah.
right? Which I don't know if that was a direct intention given the obvious nature of the film or matter of the film, especially in the case of the delivery of Ronnie Blakely, who was the mother.
Oh,
right?
yeah. She has a weird performance
Yeah,
in the movie. For
playing the
sure.
mother of Heather Langenkamp's character, Nancy Thompson, or was it that she was just a really shitty actress? I don't know, because
well,
her
also
delivery
she's
was.
a drunk. She's an alcoholic.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing too. Like, you know, there
In the movie.
but it made it very. To me, the whole mood, like, that character, Ronnie Blakely's character, she seemed to be kind of the focal point for me too. It was as much her story, as Nancy's. I thought.
Yeah, I suppose
But
so.
the movie kind of had, to me, the way that the original Nightmare on Elm Street moved along, it kind of moved along. And I know it's a surreal film. I know it's a fantasy film.
Yeah.
But it was that damn good, though, is that it felt like, wow, this is like really weird. Like, what the hell's happening here?
Well, yeah,
you
I
know?
think the first movie blurs that line between, like, there's a lot of times in that movie when you aren't sure if the characters are asleep or not, and
Yeah.
it does really have that
Yeah.
surreal that feeling to it.
Yeah.
Well, I think the first one is, I mean, yeah, like, I don't think, you know, like you said, I don't think that it's at all saying, like, oh, the original was better, to point out that the original is just, like, way better for a lot of reasons. You know, like, it's not just because the sequels were less good, but it's because the first one was, like, a standalone movie. That
Yeah.
the whole point of it was, like, it's a real, like, serious movie, and
Yeah.
just comparing it to the other movies that came out in the genre
Yeah.
around that time, it is a way unusually well done, like really well made movie, and like
Yeah.
it does have a lot of artistry to it, and it's a much smarter horror movie than most of the ones that were getting put out
Oh,
then.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
I mean, like we all love 80s horror, but that decade in that genre had a lot of like very cynical, like, let's just like crank out a movie that horror fans will eat up, and like, you know, a lot of the times we still do, but we know they're not like that good.
Yeah.
But this is like a rare, like really smart, really artistically made.
Yeah, it was.
Like, it is, like, I think it kind of transcends just the genre, and it's a genuinely really good film by any standards.
And the funny thing too, like I was reading on it, and like Wes Craven was kind of like, I want to do like a slasher, a killer, but not another voiceless, masked character, and that kind of is what created
Well,
Freddy.
there's definitely
you know?
a personality there. We all know that. I mean, Freddy Krueger is a huge personality that
Oh, yeah.
grows throughout the franchise into its own.
Yeah.
Which is, it's funny because going into this, I'll be totally honest, Nightmare on Elm Street and Freddy Krueger, I've always been kind of like, I've seen them all, and it was fun going back. Like Michelle, you said that before the show. It was a lot of fun revisiting these movies, and I did have a lot of fun revisiting the movies. But at the same time, I guess the only way I can really say it is I've never been a huge fan of this franchise. Not that I don't like it, not that I'm shitting on it, and I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just be honest about it. It never was one that I was like, oh my God. It wasn't like Hellraiser for me. Like Hellraiser, I watch all those movies, and, shit on anything past 1, because most people.
Yeah.
2 is amazing too.
2 is fantastic,
anything
yeah.
past 2, people want to
2
shit
is
all
fantastic.
over, and I can fight for any of those movies after 2. I love them. I think they're fantastic. Or Alien, another obvious one
Yeah.
too. I mean, those ones I'm like, I can watch those like, oh, we're gonna do an Alien movie, and I'll be like just
Yeah.
watching. Fun to watch. A lot of fun to go through this stuff.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm going. I realized that while seeing all this stuff several times growing up, I was never like. Complete. Even the original one, I was never like, "Oh my God, it's the most." But it was fantastic. That's that weird line I'm walking on right now. I'm not trying to be confrontational or anything like that, but it just was that weird line I walked on where I really liked the movies, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm not totally like just like freaking out over them. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's my all-time favorite franchise, horror franchise.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah. Oh
We're
yeah.
gonna have to thumb wrestle after the show.
Well,
for the title.
I grew up. My dad was a really huge horror fan.
Yeah.
And I've been watching horror movies since I could remember, since 6 or 7 years old.
Yeah.
And I had no restrictions on anything I watched. My dad would just sit me next to him and we'd watch horror movies. And I was never scared, and I'm not scared of horror to this day because he sat me down and was just like, it's fake. Or he would show me pictures and say, here's Freddy with his no makeup on. It's all people
Robert
doing
Englund.
the special effects.
Right.
Yeah.
And once he told me that, I was like, oh, well, why should I be scared? It's not scary. It's people making it. So we watched all the Nightmare on Elm Street films. He took me to every single one when they came out in the theater.
Nice.
That's awesome.
And my entire love of horror is from my dad and growing
Yeah.
up watching horror movies with him. So this franchise has a special place in my heart because this is the one that we really bonded over. It was our favorite.
Oh well, yes,
Yeah.
yeah. You got a real deep root into this.
But I
That's
always
cool.
I like Nightmare on Elm Street as a franchise in general because I feel like it's really creative and fun, and the concept of it allowed a lot of prominent people in the horror and special effects industry to really stretch out and do fun stuff.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
of the dream and surreal nature of it, they could just kind of just do whatever they wanted with it. So,
Yeah, well, it definitely opened up a lot of space
yeah.
Yeah.
to create. And there's one thing, whatever I just said a few minutes ago, this franchise is one of the most colorful
Yeah.
horror
yeah.
franchises and I don't mean colorful, just I say that a lot, not color as in color itself, just the mood of it. There's just a lot of fucking stuff to bite down on.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of, whether is campy and goofy as some of it got, it was like, well, that's because you can't help but go, because you're taking a character, and as we go along here, you'll see this. You're taking a character the direction they went with Freddy Krueger. You're taking this character and juxtapositioning him with all this hilarious kind of weird stuff. You know what I mean? That you'd never, like we said before, he did a video with the Fat Boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what the fuck? Who thought that shit up, man? What Coke
And
party?
Dokken.
What, yeah, well, Dokken. Yeah, and that was the shit. All right, that's awesome. But I mean, even the Fat Boys is awesome because it's again, what Coke party were these guys having? Going, okay, check this out. All right.
I think
Freddy and the Fat Boys.
I
Freddy and the
think
Fat Boys.
younger people might not realize how ingrained Freddy Krueger was into pop culture.
Holy crap!
Oh yeah. It was a
He had
pervasive
video
pop culture
games.
thing.
They don't really do this as much anymore. In the 80s, they would make horror movie video games based off of them.
Yeah.
R-rated movies, and then they'd make NES games that kids would play, and cartoon shows and stuff like that. They don't really do that anymore, I've noticed, but Freddy was so fucking popular in the 80s. His popularity was so insane. He was everywhere.
It was
He was
huge.
on talk shows and
Yeah.
commercials.
Yeah.
He's probably the most mainstream horror icon, I would say.
Oh yeah.
He had, and I think they kind of grasped onto that aspect, and that's why the later movies got a little goofier because it was more appealing. He was almost, even though these movies were R, they were almost like kids movies, horror movies, but with a sensibility that would appeal to kids.
Well, because they added so many fantastical elements
Yeah.
into it, like the Alice in Wonderland
Yeah.
things, the Wizard of Oz
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah.
They really
Oh my
did
God.
kind of lend
And
a
we're
lot
gonna
of
get to
fantasy
that.
into the films
Yeah, well,
too.
and it's very much I always kind of in my mind tie the Elm Street series and Tales from the Crypt together.
Yeah.
Both kind of in their tone where they're both
Yeah.
horror but really
Almost comic
funny.
book-esque.
Yeah, they're both they're very very the EC comics,
Yeah.
that art style.
Well, yeah, and I noticed that too. Fairy Tales from the Crypt, very creep show. Very much the same
Yeah,
feel.
well, I mean, Creepshow was, also
very
based on those
comic, but
EC
very,
comics.
again, very,
Yeah.
Yeah, like
very
those
much
like a
based on comics,
very
yeah.
specific.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I think that's why, and that really does set this apart because I think I'm with Michelle on this probably being the best of the big horror franchises. I mean, I'd take this over the Halloween or Friday the 13th franchises on the whole, and I mean,
Yeah.
I'd probably take this over Hellraiser also.
Oh, fucking blasphemy! Bite your tongue.
So
I would though. Too.
I would say also, I mean, just all these franchises have their ups and downs. I think, like, even if the Elm Street franchise only has, like, 3 really good movies, that's more than most of these
Yeah.
have.
Oh, yeah.
Some of
let's
them don't
be
have
honest.
one, and they made like 8.
And, even
Yeah.
like, speaking of Hellraiser, even they took the Hellraiser and Pinhead and the Cenobites
Yeah.
in those directions also, especially in 3 when they started making all these hilarious, goofy
Yo, that's
Cenobites,
why, yeah, like, 3 is fun, Hellraiser 3,
Yeah.
but it is very much trying to be a Nightmare on Elm Street
It's very,
movie.
I'll agree
Yeah, like
100%
they
on
give
that.
the
Yeah.
Cenobites Freddy lines, like they turn
Yeah.
Pinhead into Freddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so like that one is just this weird case of like, as a Hellraiser movie, it's
Yeah.
kind of not good.
No.
But as like a knockoff Nightmare on Elm Street movie, it's
fun.
It's fun.
It's fun
but
to watch,
It's not
yeah.
as fun as these.
Exactly. So there was Nightmare on Elm Street, the original one.
Yeah.
And then we go to Freddy's Revenge in 1985.
The homoerotic horror
Yep.
cinema film.
You know what's
Oh my
funny
God.
is
Yeah.
when I saw that as a kid, I picked up on 0% of that. And then I rewatched it as like in my early 20s. I was like, wait a minute, this is like super gay. Like the gay subtext is super in the front of this movie.
Well, I read this review of it that said that it's not subtext; it's more like dom text, and I thought that was hilarious.
The one thing that I pulled out from this movie, watching
You just
it again,
said pulled out in context of
Well,
the homoerotic.
the social context was interesting because, and a lot of the films had this same feel though too, because you always had, especially with the '80s films, you had the popular kids and then the misfit kids, and they had all that weird stuff.
Yeah.
I found it really cool, especially in 2, like the central group that was all getting, because they're pretty uniform with that. You get central character and then a bunch of meat around that character that Freddy just rips apart, right?
Right.
The central group, especially in Freddy's Revenge, they're from all different walks of life. If you look, like you have the jock, you have the comic book writer. I think there was a comic book writer in that. You had. Am I wrong? Am I mixing up movies?
Yeah, that was later on
Yeah,
into the
you're
series.
thinking of something else.
Oh my
But
God.
yeah, there's the jock.
No,
there's really only there's the main character kid, the jock best
His
friend,
girlfriend.
the girlfriend, and the like party girl.
Yeah.
And that's really 2
But
has
they were all-
undefined characters.
What's the name of the guy in the movie? Jesse?
Jesse.
Jesse.
Yeah.
So Jess, the issue with Jesse in the film is that he's a loner for one.
I'm on drugs. We'll get to
they
that.
move to a new town. They move like to
Yeah,
where
yeah,
Springfield, I
yeah,
think, is
yeah.
where Elm Street is.
Yeah.
So he's isolated. They move into the old house, I guess, that Nancy used to live in because
Yeah.
they find her diary and
Yeah, yeah.
he does this little move-in booty dance that he does and he finds the diary. But like he's very isolated, and the thing about with Freddy is
Yeah.
Freddy goes for the weak person. Because he can exploit you through your weakness because, when you're in your dreams, you're vulnerable. And your dreams usually, dredge up stuff that you normally don't want to think about.
Yeah.
They come to you in your dreams. So it's like perfect for
But
like Freddy.
the chick was a rich girl.
Yes.
The other dude was like the jock dude.
Yeah,
kind
who
of.
Yeah.
you would expect to make fun of the main character and
that's-
like these
and there was well, that's what I found funny is there was that tension in the very beginning, like they
Yeah.
get into a fight and they
Yeah.
have to do push-ups. And
Yeah.
they start talking to
Yeah.
each other.
But
And
then they're
then
buddies.
They're buddies.
Yeah.
And even through the movie, you see them like kind of button heads here and there, but they were cool with each other. They were
Yeah.
buddies, right?
Yeah.
There was these very different characters, I thought, and again, that goes through the rest of the movies too. They have that same thing. We'll see that, but yeah, there wasn't like as I said, his girlfriend was like a total rich chick. Like she was like totally loaded. You know what I mean? But somehow she rode the bus to school, which I found kind of funny.
Yeah,
like
well,
all these weird things you wouldn't expect to happen, they kind of happen.
Yeah.
But I always
into-
want to say that bus scene in the beginning of the film is fantastic.
Okay.
That's one of my favorite
All
set
right.
pieces.
That visual is super super cool, and it's the
Yeah.
only cool visual. And well, no, that's not true. There's other cool stuff. In
Well,
that
that's
movie.
what
But
that's actually what I
I saw it on your.
I noted
spreadsheet.
that down. Like the beginning and the end of the movie were probably my favorite parts because much like, oh my God, never mind. I'm not going to even try to equate it with anything. I can't remember. My memory's shot. But the beginning, the end was the best part with the bus just blowing through just that rocking bus going through the desert and the whole thing kind of dimming down. And then all you hear is Freddy laughing.
Yeah.
That really was fucking terrifying. Because it's like, oh my God, they're going to oblivion, man. The beginning was very surreal looking. Like they had him on like the bus was sitting on a pillar of rock.
Yeah,
that
cool.
visual is
It
super
still looks
cool.
good too.
Yeah.
No, it looks really cool. But that was probably the creepiest element I thought of the film was just that bus bouncing off into the desert and like going, oh God, they were so
My
fucked.
main issue with part 2 and how Freddy is depicted is, first off, like they kind of just said whatever happened the first movie, like the entire series isn't like super good with continuity anyway. But
It's like the X-Men of horror movies.
As far as like,
Yeah.
establishing rules for how Freddy's powers works and stuff, it's kind of different in every movie. So in the second one, I assumed he was trying to take over Jesse's body because he could come into the real world through a physical form, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I just assumed he was gonna like just possess him and make
Yeah,
him kill
but
people.
then he,
Not
like,
that he was
comes
gonna
out
like.
of him.
Yeah, that.
Which doesn't make sense, kind of.
Yeah, but then.
And then I feel like they take away some of his fear, some of his like scary atmosphere by like at the pool party thing. He just looks like a guy. Like he's not
Yeah.
very scary looking. He doesn't have the
Yeah.
control of the atmosphere of dreams. Like in dreams, he can make himself look scary, but in real life, he's just like a guy in a sweater. And there's
Yeah.
like that kid kind of trying to talk to him. The kid's like 3 feet taller than him.
Yeah, and the
and-
kid's like, dude, just calm down.
Yeah.
It's going to be okay.
Yeah, and
Like, that
Now
that's-
we'll do whatever
Yeah,
you
yeah,
want.
chill out.
that's where
man.
that movie kind of flies off the
Yeah.
rails. Because rewatching this, I was struck by like, okay, the first one, as we said, honestly, really well made film, unusually well made for this
For that time.
era in horror. The second one. People say it's real terrible. It's not nearly as bad as people say.
No,
Like,
it isn't.
Yeah, like for an 80s teen horror movie, it's pretty average. Like it's a lot better than like I don't know, like Night of the Demons or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it looks so much worse because it follows up this really great movie. But then so like I was watching it again like, man, this is a lot better than I remember it. And then that happens, and then the end of the movie just doesn't make any fucking sense. And like,
Yeah.
where did these dogs with babies' heads come from?
Which was,
That made
but that
no
was cool
sense.
looking though.
And like then
was
everything
cool
just
looking.
like spontaneously lights on fire at the end. Like it's not even like a like Deus Ex Machina. It's just like it just happens.
Well,
for
the
no
issue-
reason.
The issue that I have with it is kind of what Michelle was saying
Yeah.
is the first movie, everything Freddy does takes place in the dream world.
Yeah.
In the second world, all of a sudden, he can become a physical self in our realm.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a second. You just like threw everything out the window, and then the crazy looking dogs with the evil faces,
Yeah.
they are in
They're in the real world,
they're in the real
and they
world.
shouldn't
Like,
be.
How
Well,
does
what
that
I
happen?
thought,
also-
what I thought it was though was simple. Here's the thing: as I watched this series, and I don't know if this is what the direction my dumb brain goes in, is I was trying to picture like Freddy, not in the movies. Like, what's Freddy doing when he's not in one of these movies, right? Like, not acting out these stories. And the conclusion I came to was, okay, Freddy is constantly trying to find a way to get into this world, to do his bidding.
Well, yeah,
right?
but like in the first one, he's not. That just comes out of nowhere in the second one. In the first
Yeah.
one, he's trying to kill the kids of the people who killed him.
Well, yeah, but
he has
the-
an
but
extremely
that narrative
specific
follows-
mission statement.
Yeah, but that narrative follows through everything from 2 all the way down. Like, he's always trying to find a way to get into, get to people, get into the world, right?
Yeah.
So the way I picture that was like, okay, Freddy's just basically chilling, not chilling. He's trying to find a crack in the armor somewhere to get through. Right?
Well, that's fine and well, but like they should have explained that and like actually had that be a thing.
Well, I'm not saying
They-
I'm
like
not
that-
saying I'm even right. I'm
No,
just
like
saying
that.
this is what
That
I
totally
fucking
could
thought.
have been.
Yeah.
That would have been a better plot to have into. But like, I don't like 2. The rules that it seems to lay
Oh,
out
it's insane.
seem to dictate that okay, like yeah, that Jesse's possessed by Freddy. He's killing people, but when anybody else looks at him, he should just look like Jesse.
Yes.
That everybody else looks at him and sees Freddy doesn't make any sense. And then like the whole thing with the pool party, it's like he kind of like he
So
doesn't
where was
come out of
Jesse during that part?
Yeah, where is yeah, because like Freddy jumps through the window and then just disappears. Like, wait, no, that should be Jesse. Like that movie breaks its own internal logic.
They even like have scenes where like he's coming, like he's turning into
He
Jesse.
turns into
But then like what? And then Jesse just comes back.
Yeah.
Like, where is he?
Well, okay, so I was
Nothing makes
reading
sense in that
more
movie
about
to
the
me.
production of part 2.
Love it.
And it so this kind of made a lot of the production of part 2 is way messier than Never Sleep Again makes it out to be. Like Never Sleep Again almost kind of like sugarcoats what a because like okay, that movie was cranked out and put into theaters less than a year after the original came out in theaters.
Yeah, because one came out every year.
Yeah, but like number 2, it beat the first film into theaters by like a week before the year mark, and that's fucking insane.
That's insane to produce a
considering
whole
that
movie.
they didn't know they were going to make a sequel until the first one was a surprise hit.
Well, Wes Craven even said he read the script because they came to him and he's like, it sucks. I don't want to do it.
And so like I read all this stuff about how like all these people kept saying like this is a bad idea, but the reason why they did it so fast was because New Line was just starting out. They had no money.
Yeah.
They needed another big hit or they were going to fold.
Right.
So they just like pushed this movie through. And yeah, Wes Craven said, we're not going to do it, or I'm not going to do it. It's a terrible idea. The production designer from the first one quit partway through because she said like, okay, you're not giving us the money or the resources or the time to do this right. Robert Shea, the producer of the series, the head of New Line, I think.
Yeah.
He even said, like, yeah, we rushed it through so fast, we didn't have time to stop and think about whether it was a good idea. And, like, Robert Englund kept, like, saying to people, like, at the pool party scene, like, this doesn't make any sense. We're breaking all the rules of this. And, I mean, that's also, I think, how they managed to, according to Never Sleep Again, have nobody but the writer and the lead actor and the set designer notice how super homoerotic the movie was. But like no one well, because that's
See, let's clear something up here.
Yeah.
None of us have a problem with the homoeroticism.
Oh, no.
God, no.
I
of
would
this movie.
say that
We're
that
just
is that is the best thing about Elm Street
Yeah.
2 is that it is a hilarious piece of unintentional gay camp.
Yes.
That is where that movie is at its best.
And the lead actor was gay in real
well,
life.
So now you can read that whole movie kind of going off of Michelle, what you were saying before about how like Freddy picks on people whose insecurities he can exploit.
Mm-hmm.
You can read that whole movie as being about how Jesse is gay but can't admit it to himself.
Yes.
And Freddy is preying on his repressed homosexuality, and there's like the scene where he's like about to have sex with his girlfriend.
Yeah,
and
you
he
just
freaks
read my
out
mind.
and has like a Freddy possession fit, and is like, I have to leave. And he goes to his best friend's bedroom.
Yeah.
Who's laying
and-
around looking hot and shit with no shirt on.
Yeah, like that's just like the way that
Ron.
like it absolutely plays out as
Ron Grady.
and as an allegory. Yeah, who played the exact same character in Vamp, that vampire movie with Grace Jones.
Yeah.
But yeah, it totally like the themes of it are all. It's amazing that nobody noticed it, and
Yeah.
the actor who played him, Mark Patton, said that he sort of like channeled his own anxieties about being outed into the character, but then. So Mark Patton has produced this documentary that's coming out this year about the production of Elm Street 2.
Which that cover is the shit. I agree
Yeah,
with
the
you,
cover,
Michelle.
and it
The cover
has
is
the
awesome.
fantastic title of Scream Queen.
Yeah.
Which is an awesome title. But so, like, and I guess that the gist of the film, like, having watched the trailer and read about it, is that, like, it's sort of about his complicated relationship with the movie, because, like, that movie basically, like, ruined his life and his career for a while. Because, like, that was, as he said, like, it came out at a time when, like, the AIDS crisis was in full swing. Hollywood and horror movies in particular were, like, really homophobic. And that movie outed him as gay, and then he just couldn't get work. Because casting directors kept telling him, like, no one's going to believe you're straight because everyone knows you're gay because of Elm Street 2.
Yeah.
And he basically got blackballed because of that movie. And then only, like, later on, like, over time, did he sort of start to kind of begrudgingly realize, like, okay, this actually has this whole, like, cult following specifically because it's, like, this gay camp cult classic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you look up people writing about the movie, like, it's... Like they love that aspect of it. Like it's so incredible that they hid it in plain sight, basically.
Yeah, and that fucking nobody noticed, which I think kind of just speaks to what to Mark Patton's point, is what a like super heteronormative environment Hollywood was then.
Well,
what?
We need to move on to Dream Warriors.
Yeah. Well, the last thing I want to point out about too is that the darkness is still there with Freddy. He is kind of coming out into the open, like you guys pointed out, the pool scene, which it was bizarre. Like, hey, dude, just chill out, man. It's okay, man. The guy's got freaking blades on his hand.
Although I would like to say, like, people talk like the comedy only came in 3. Right from the first one, though, Freddy was always a really, like, a very darkly comic character.
No, he was.
But he always, like, they're like, hey, check this out, and he cuts his fingers off, and they grow back. There were all these, like, gags in the first one, even.
But it was it became very much pronounced in Dream Warriors.
Yes.
Number
that's
3.
where he gets that's like the beginning of like the Freddy persona that most people are familiar with.
Yeah,
and most people our age, that's the movie that they know is Dream Warriors. Like if you ask any like 32-year-old person, what's your favorite Nightmare on Elm Street movie, they almost 9 times out of 10 will say Dream Warriors.
Oh yeah,
because that's the one we all grew up watching probably the most. And
well, like my wife, even I asked her the other day. She's like, "Oh, I only saw one of them. Which one? Dream Warriors."
Yeah,
it's the most famous one.
It was
it's
the
the
most
best
famous one.
I think I like it better than the first one.
What did I put number?
Really?
That's
it goes Dream Warriors.
It's number 2 for me.
And number 2 is the first one.
I like Dream Warriors a lot. I do not think it is nearly the honestly really great film the first one is. Yeah. It's far and away the best sequel, and I mean it's better than like most 80s movies on their own. But
and one of the writers was Frank Darabont.
Yeah.
Which is probably why it's good.
Well, and Wes Craven.
Yeah.
But he came back and kind of saved that series from itself.
Yeah, Wes Craven, Bruce Wagner, Chuck Russell, and Frank Darabont. 4 guys were... Story by Wes Craven and Bruce Wagner. One thing I do want to say about Dream Warriors is 2 words. Kruger! Pussy! My favorite fucking thing in my whole life, dude. Me and my friend, we ended up watching. This was funny. We're doing this because just last October we were talking about Nightmare on Elm Street, and we just did the same thing we did for this show. We ended up. I think we actually got to like 4. And we gave up.
Yeah, 4 is about as far as most people get before they give up.
I forgot that line in part 3. Kruger, pussy, and that me and this friend, he lives in Florida, and he was up visiting when we saw it. And every email, right to like today, we go back and forth all the time. We always end this poor guy left when he was visiting me in October. He left a pair of his underwear at my house. Not a comment from you ever, Chris. I don't want to hear about it. He just left some underwear. So we washed them, and I put them in. I'm like, well, I'm going to mail them back to him. It'll be funny. So I put them in an envelope, and I printed out a picture of Freddy Krueger and wrote, Krueger, and put it in the envelope and mailed him the underwear back. That thing's so ingrained in our heads now. Just that stupid 2 words from the movie. And I mean, that had to have been improv.
Yeah. That movie started a lot of like franchise things that people are familiar with, like being able to pull people into dreams. Like if you were dreaming, you could pull somebody else into your dream if they fall asleep. Doing stuff to Freddy's bones outside of the dream world to affect them in the dream world.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. With the same car from the first one.
Yeah.
Remember that? That was a tie-in.
And having powers in your dreams, like just everything about it is like set up in this really interesting way. It flows well. Like they go in. It has like some of the coolest kills, like the marionette one.
Oh yeah,
that looks amazing. Still, by the way,
the effects in that movie still look really.
It looked fantastic, and all the characters. You really had some, like I said, the whole meat element, but all the characters in that movie, you kind of had a stake with all of them. I mean, I remember seeing that when I was younger. I was rooting for everybody in that movie.
Like you felt bad when they died. Like usually in movies, everybody's expendable, but in they fleshed out every single character in it, so you felt bad when they died.
Yeah, and you had no idea what order they were going to die in. No one was the obviously expendable person who was going to die first. Like the one who dies first is one of the ones they put the most effort into developing before that.
I mean, basically, they set up a D&D party and fought Freddy because like they all have their own powers. They picked classes basically.
Exactly.
One guy's a wizard. The punk chick, I guess she could have been like a rogue. You got Kincaid is the shield guy. The tank. Like I always, when I rewatched it, I was like, oh my god, this is totally a D&D campaign that they made into a Freddy movie.
Oh, it totally is, and that's sort of I think why it's a good thing that they brought Wes Craven back on that one, because like after number 2 being this like really ill-advised detour that broke all the rules of the mythology of the first one, this one kind of almost just ignores part 2 altogether.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's almost like...
Well, they brought Heather Laming.
Yeah, like it almost...
Langenkamp.
Langenkamp.
It might even kind of like retcon out, like,
Nancy.
I mean, for all we know, 2 doesn't even exist in the world of 3. It just like picks up where the first one left off, and it builds on the mythology and really like adds to it in meaningful ways.
It course corrects the series back, and they basically all kind of branch off from this one instead of part 2.
Yeah.
It goes like you could basically go 1, skip 2 completely, 3, because those 1 and 3 are chronological.
Yeah.
Because Heather or Nancy talks about how her mom's dead, and she meets the guy, and then and then she's talking about her family. Like 2 might as well not even exist, honestly.
Yeah,
No,
2
it really
doesn't.
was.
It doesn't
Take 2
have
out.
to
Totally
exist.
expendable.
Yeah, well, that's why. I mean, 2 is the only one in the series that is never mentioned again.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's why. And also, like how I said, like the second one looks a lot worse in comparison to the first one because of how well made the first one is. And then like after 2 just being very utilitarian and how it's made, 3 again is really well shot.
Yeah.
Really artistically done, and it has the music back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because 2, the music is totally different, and then like watching the third one again, the first time that you hear that like really great score, because Nightmare on Elm Street also has one of my favorite horror movie scores ever.
One of
It's
the best
great.
themes ever.
Yeah.
Well, one other thing we have not mentioned though in part 3 is Craig Wasson.
Yeah, and he's great.
Oh.
In he was a mainstay during the 80s.
Yeah,
you
well,
know,
from
he
Ghost
was in-
Story, a
he
movie
was
that we
in-
bring up a
yeah,
lot.
and he was in Body Double.
Yeah.
He did a lot of great stuff. It's really sad because he just disappeared off the map. He just stopped making movies. But he was really, really
He's
good,
really good
in this
in
movie
3,
too.
yeah.
He's very convincing in that role. I personally, what I think the greatest thing about Dream Warriors is that we all have somebody that we can kind of sympathize with in that movie. I mean, none of us are a heroin addict or anything like that, but you kind of connect with these different teenagers in the movie.
As Michelle said that, the characters were very well developed throughout the movie. So you really felt it when they did die, when they were killed.
And let's be honest, that they know their target audience, that like
Yeah.
the group of misfit nerds, like they know that we're gonna dig that because
Yeah.
Because it's cool
that's
because it
us.
forces them all to work together, and it's
Yeah.
like I was totally the nerd kid too.
Oh, yeah.
I totally empathize with
Oh
him.
yeah.
I was like,
I grew up the same way. Total misfit.
Yeah.
back in the saddle.
I had a mullet and a
for you.
Metallica T-shirt. I had no chance in school, man. I had no chance growing up. But my favorite scene, the Terran kill scene, which somebody already mentioned that, with the
Oh
arms.
God,
Oh, yeah.
That
that's-
fucked me up when I was younger.
Let's
That-
get high.
Yeah, but it was just
That's
like
so creepy.
with the little suckers on her arms, the little tentacles
Yeah.
they had just for the track marks.
Yeah.
yeah. And when he lays into her, it's just like, oh, what a rough. I mean that, and that's the comedy element really was amped up in this movie. This is where we started seeing that.
Yeah,
And
but it's still dark.
It's
Like
still-
it's
that's
not
dark as hell.
slapsticky yet.
No, it's dark as
like,
hell.
He's not the Crypt Keeper yet. He's
Yeah.
still like a
welcome
dark.
to prime time, bitch. I mean,
Yeah.
which ramming. I mean, the idea. It's such a crazy looking scene, like that scene.
Yeah.
But ramming someone's head through a TV screen,
And
like
she just
that,
hangs there.
and it's,
Yeah.
that's fucked. to
Like
watch.
gravity just doesn't exist anymore.
I remember
Yeah.
that scene used to creep me out a lot because of the way it played with, like, she's watching TV and then they're interviewing Zsa Zsa Gabor.
Oh yeah.
And then
She had a cameo in
that
that
guy
movie.
goes, he asks her a question and he's like, oh, so what do you think about this? And she's like, well, and he's like, I don't give a fuck what you
Oh,
think.
yeah.
And he turns into Freddy. I'm like, that's fucking scary. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like I would say even every one is really good. Like all the movies have pretty good editing. Like they do this thing where like they blink for too long and then they're dream world, and then it's like split second stuff. They do a lot of that in that movie too.
Junkyard Skeleton.
Oh
That's
yeah,
another one I thought that.
claymation skeleton.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that looked pretty
that's-
cool.
Stop motion.
Dude, that was such a throwback to Ray Harryhausen.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I love
I
it.
mean,
It's
totally.
So cool.
It
Looks
probably was
awesome.
definitely a homage to that, I would say.
Oh,
Like,
Oh yeah,
for sure.
absolutely.
Well, they talk about that in Never Sleep
Yeah.
Again. How that, although they all talk about how they all think that looks like shit, and that
It looks
really, It looks
amazing.
great.
It
Yeah.
looks
Like
It was
what? What
very
are you
great.
talking? What? How does this look like shit? Yeah, no, that's.
Especially the end where he's just like, "Rah,"
Yeah.
it just disintegrates, just falls
Yeah.
apart.
And
I think that was so cool.
That is the one part where I always think, like, wait a second, how does this really work with the internal logic of the series? Because otherwise, 3 totally plays by the rules of 1. except for
That.
that's
Yeah.
a little goofy.
Yeah.
So, the Dream Master.
The Dream Master. Hi,
Hi.
I'm the Dream Master.
Yeah.
make your dreams come
Okay, dog pissing fire.
Yeah, what the fuck?
What the fuck was that?
Yeah, why? I mean, did they just like really just not give a fuck at all about how they brought Freddy
That's like the
back?
first thing I wrote down because I was taking notes when and I just wrote dog pissing fire. LOL.
I mean, that's like a way that they bring Jason back. That shouldn't be in a Elm Street movie.
And then they replace Kirsten.
Yeah.
Right? And it's funny because in the
Yeah.
beginning she said like they put a line in where she's like, Kirsten, you got to stay calm, so like they can announce to you that that's who the fuck that is because you're like, who's this chick? And
Yeah.
you're like, she's
Although
like,
isn't her
Well,
name's Kristen,
is it
right?
Kristen?
Kristen.
Sorry,
But
Kristen.
you know why, right?
She got pregnant.
Yeah, Rosanna Arquette
Yeah.
got pregnant in between movies and was like 7 or 8 months along,
Wow.
so they couldn't bring her back. The new Kristen sucks.
Yeah, she's terrible.
Yeah.
No
like,
personality.
no personality. Totally different than how Rosanna Arquette
Yeah.
played her. Like, study the character. At least if you're going to try to play the same character, act the same. She doesn't
Yeah.
act the same at all.
No, she
No.
And I also don't like Alice. And Alice is in 2 movies and she sucks and she's
didn't.
boring.
She was in 4 and 5.
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
so like let's, she's just so. I just don't care about her. She annoys
Well,
me.
I don't know the actress's name, but she just. I mean,
Did she ever do anything else
she
ever?
reminds me of Ryan Reynolds. And I know I'm going to take shit for this because I think we've had this conversation here before too. Ryan Reynolds to me is absolutely as vanilla as it comes. He was like like Kyle MacLachlan's like an actor like Kyle MacLachlan. Like that man to me, like as far as like he's a very unique looking man.
There are some girls watching this right now that are probably going to want to punch you in the throat.
That's
I'm
fine.
sure.
I'm okay
Yeah,
with
Ryan
that.
Reynolds is a hot cup
I
of
just
gravy
don't.
boy.
He's just so vanilla
That
to
dude
me,
is
right?
fine.
And that that's that same. I would have the same viewpoint with her. She's a very just very pretty lady. Don't get me wrong. I mean, but she's just nothing defining, nothing exotic to me. Like when I'm watching a movie, like there's an earmark I want to, oh yeah, the eyes or whatever. You know what I mean? But so that kind of goes on with your point, Michelle. Like she just, as far as like a main character. It didn't really pop.
Well,
Well-
especially because of the way they set her character up in the film, that she's like, the premise being that every time somebody dies, she gains their powers. Like somebody in one
Yeah.
of my threads was like, she's basically Mega Man. Like she
Yeah.
gets their powers and she can use them later, or she gets like the quickening.
Yeah.
Every time one of them dies, and then so she like has this final battle.
Turns
with-
into ultimate badass chick at the end.
Wait. Dawn just commented, I would have Ryan Reynolds in my chest of souls.
yeah, Ryan Reynolds is hot,
Yeah.
especially when he's Deadpool.
No, I'd turn it down.
But-
I wouldn't do it.
But like she has that. Alice has the final battle with Freddy, and she just doesn't have any charisma or badassery. Even though they give her a cool montage of doing stuff.
Yeah.
And also that scene where she like all of a sudden can use nunchucks after the karate guy dies
Well, that
is
was
the
her brother.
funniest fucking thing.
Her brother, yeah.
It just looks so silly. She's all like, oh.
Now,
Yeah, and that they kill the returning characters from
Yeah,
3
the
like,
good ones.
right away
See,
too.
oh, that sucked.
See, I always have a problem with this because when you kill the returning characters, I always feel like I'm watching Alien 3 again.
Yeah.
Like your
Yeah.
main characters went through this plight to get where they're at, and you're connected to them, and then we get to the next movie and we just kill them all.
Yeah, it's like
it
the
kind
script
of
just can't be
vanquishes.
bothered, yeah.
it kind of vanquishes everything that happened in the previous movie. I feel like,
Yeah, and I mean,
it's okay.
Yeah, well, and
Kincaid's death
Yeah.
is really cool though. Like when he's in the junkyard and they pan out and he's like, Freddy's back, Freddy's back.
yeah,
And
see,
it's pulling out.
if
It's
they
like an
had
endless
killed
junkyard
him
planet.
and had Joey stick around, like if they killed one of them, I might have been okay
Yeah.
with it because then it's like, oh shit, anyone can die in this
Yeah.
movie. We're raising the stakes. But you kill both of them, and yeah, it reminds me of Alien 3.
It
And
was
can we
a very-
also talk about how Joey's so horny that he fell for the same shit twice?
Yeah, no shit, right?
Yeah, that's...
Dude, come on. You've been through this before,
Yeah,
man.
I mean, that's...
There's no chick
it's-
in your bed.
Joey needs to see tits so bad
Yeah.
that he just keeps falling for it. Freddy just shows him boobs. He's like, okay. He's
Yeah.
like, girl in my waterbed. This totally couldn't be like another trap.
Yeah, if I rolled over in my waterbed and I pull up the sheet and saw a chick under there with boobs, the last thing I would do is be like, oh, dude, I got to get in there.
I will say that part's pretty cool looking.
It's
though.
cool looking,
But again,
but I'm running.
if Freddy can only affect things in people's dreams, I have serious questions about how Joey got inside the waterbed without just spilling it everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's how they find him, is just like
Yeah, he's
floating,
just
which was another very
Like
fucked up
magically,
looking.
it's a fucked
Whoa,
up visual.
holy crap,
but that's-
man, holy crap.
Well,
Because
I think
they do a lot of this weird thing too, where like they'll do a shot which looks cool. I mean, but
Yeah.
like people will go to sleep and they'll fall backwards and fall in the chairs and stuff. It's a
Yeah.
really cool visual. But then sometimes, and then I'm like, is that them? Like, where are they going? Like, are we seeing that, or is that just like a visual representation of, oh, they're dreaming now? It's like a visual for the audience to be like, oh, this is Dream World.
I think
Or-
I always took it as like, yeah, it's like their like dream selves like falling out of their
Yeah, because then they'll
like,
find
out of
them
their
in their
body.
chair later. They'll be like, sleep or whatever,
Yeah.
and they gotta wake up. But-
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like in
Like
like
symbolism.
when somebody like steps up out of their body in a
Yeah.
movie.
So the most cringe-inducing scene, I think, in this movie, and I don't mean cringe as in bad, is Debbie's kill scene with the when she's lifting weights.
Oh, that's
Oh,
my favorite
yeah.
kill
That's
in
hard
all
to watch.
of Nightmare on Elm Street.
Now,
Fantastic.
Now where it
Everything about
goes,
that's- ooh, Jesus.
it goes kind of sideways for me. But the initial with the barbell,
Yeah.
that was tough to watch.
Yeah,
That
that's
really
tough to
hurt.
watch, and then the whole cockroach thing.
Yeah, where she
is-
rips her face off.
Yeah, like the effects are
that looked
fucking
really cool.
fantastic, and it's creepy as hell.
But I didn't understand. I mean, it kind of. Even watching it again, I was still kind of like, why did he turn her?
well, I
into a
think
Well,
bug?
because
'cause
she's
she's
obsessed with
afraid
her
of
looks.
cockroaches.
Yeah, and she's afraid of bugs.
Yeah,
Oh,
that they established that at the
okay.
beginning when she's like eating
Oh,
her,
yeah,
and there's the
yeah,
roach in
yeah.
her snacks that like
Like what?
She freaked out
she
about
has
that.
a very unsanitary
And,
kitchen.
yeah, she crushed the.
She smashed it
roach.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They're like, okay,
Yeah.
it's
So, yeah,
dead.
they-
Calm down.
Well,
Yeah.
but I think like that one. What's fun about that and 3 is that he's not just like killing people in their dreams anymore. He's like actively using what they're afraid of, and like the effects in both of those are awesome. Because I mean, like Kevin Yeager, who did the effects for 3, is really good, but then Screaming Mad George,
Yeah.
for 4, like his effects are fucking nuts.
I mean, body horror is his specialty because
Yeah.
he did what, Society?
Yeah, and the Guyver.
Yeah, and the Guyver. So like that part, it's just amazing. Like
Yeah.
everything about that part, like the. Because you don't realize what's going on at first too. So you're like, sticky shit, what the hell? He's turning a roach, and then
Oh,
like
God.
it pans out, and he's got the roach motel.
Roach
I'm like,
Motel, yeah.
that is like genius.
yeah.
Yeah, that and like as much as it's a goofy visual gag, the pizza with all of Freddy's
Oh,
victims,
yeah.
that visual is
Oh
really
God, that's
cool.
so hard to
And he
watch.
stabs it. And
Yeah,
ugh.
like it's really and like it's kind of like goofy and cartoony, but it's like really gross and really effective.
Yeah.
And the effects
Oh,
are
man.
great.
My better half walked in. Was it last night when I was watching? No, it was 2 nights ago.
It's all
And
running
that
together.
and that scene on that scene, and she's never seen that movie, and she's like, "Oh, he's got a pizza." She likes pizza, and she's like, "Oh my God!" I mean, she just totally ran out of the
Ruined
room.
pizza
like,
for her.
Yeah, ruined pizza. Nothing ruins
Yeah.
pizza. But yeah, that scene, and getting that, you saying that really kind of put it into perspective now, because I was kind of like, "How the fuck did she get turned into a bug?" But I didn't think about that opening scene where they show the bug on her breakfast, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that makes it a lot easier for me to deal with now. That's actually now it's actually fucking cool as hell.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
totally into that.
I think as much as I generally don't care for 4 as a movie, it has maybe my favorite effects of the series.
I put it at number 3. It's like my third, as far as like the ones I like the most. It's number 3.
It's number 4 for me, but a pretty distant 4. Yeah, but before I rewatched it, this was the one that I really had to rewatch for this, because like I was saying to Michelle, I remembered all the effect scenes from it. I could not remember a fucking thing about what it was about or who was in it from the previous film, because it's so generic.
Outside of the cockroach and the pizza thing and stuff, it's very forgettable.
It is, well, I was realizing when I was rewatching it, it is such a Rennie Harlan sequel. Like it is
totally.
It is the Die Hard 2 of the Elm Street series, where like taken on its own terms, like it's fun, it's well made, like it's decent on its own terms, but then you look at it in comparison to the movie it's a sequel to, it's the exact same thing, but just slightly different and not as inspired because
Yeah.
we've seen it before.
Yeah.
And like even like I started watching it yesterday night right after finishing part 3. The opening scenes of those two movies are exactly the same.
Really?
Kristen is in a dream in the house, sees the same girl, the same
Yeah.
red bike. It just like it is just 3 again, but less good. And like
No, and I was thinking that too when I was watching it. Like, wow, this is really kind of repetitive.
yeah.
And they all become kind of repetitive that way. It all becomes kind of like a repeat of Dream Warriors in a lot of these sequels.
Yeah.
I
And
think
really
probably
does.
because 3 was the most profitable
It was
one.
it was
It was,
very
yeah.
popular.
So they were like, let's just do that again.
Yeah, well, they found a formula that
Yeah.
worked, and I mean, like for all the faults of 2, at least 1, 2, and 3 are all really different.
Yeah.
It's only after that the series
They
starts to
start
get real samey.
So then that runs us into
The Dream
Child.
Child. Oh, this
My-
fucking disaster.
I'm not like super into this one either. It does have a couple of cool scenes. The guy turning into a motorcycle.
That
yeah.
was sweet.
Okay. Well, let's
That
point out
was-
first that Freddy Krueger as a baby looks like Gollum.
Yeah, he
Yes.
just-
I was like, okay, that looks just like Gollum.
My precious.
Yeah.
Kind of makes sense.
Now, yeah, this
Yeah.
movie, going on what you just said, Michelle, and it's all yours if you want it. There was some pretty insane, and this is the comic book scene, man. I mixed it. Yeah, I think you're right on that. These last few days, they're all just kind of just. all
They
this
start to
information.
blur
Well, that's
together.
why I
You can't watch
rewatched
these
them.
movies that fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I rewatched them because I start mixing stuff up in the latter ones because
Yeah.
they kind of samey.
The motorcycle scene was badass.
Yeah,
Totally
The
badass.
effects on that are insanely good. Like, and it also intertwines with the time loop part where they keep running outside. That editing on that's like great too. Like when they keep
Yeah.
trying to get into the truck and then she comes.
That's 4.
Is that 4? I thought that was.
Yeah, because that's
Oh,
happening
yeah.
during the cockroach
That's
scene.
the cockroach
So
scene.
you
yeah,
watched
Yeah,
these
you're right.
yesterday, and they're
I know.
still running together.
Because
That's so much. So much.
like 4 and 5 could be like the same movie almost. They're
There,
just,
well,
like-
yeah, I mean, as far as the franchise, those two films really butt up against each other tight, right?
Oh, so 5
Well,
is when they established that he's the
Well, this is
he's
the-
the son of 100 maniacs.
yeah, 100.
No,
yeah.
that's 3.
Is that
no.
No, that's definitely 3.
It's definitely 3.
But
Yes,
5 they
established
talk
that.
like 5 is
But
like
in
the whole
5 they
thing about
discuss
it.
it.
They
Yeah.
they flesh it out.
Yeah.
Like they
Yes.
show it.
They
Like-
show like a whole thing. It's
and
hard
his
to watch.
mom,
like,
Amanda Kruger, is that her
We
name?
Amanda
know,
Kruger, yeah.
but like we know the story, and it was real creepy when the ghost nun told it in 3. Like,
Yeah.
why did they
Yeah.
have to go back and show it?
Because they were running out of ideas.
Yeah, exactly.
But that was tough. That was tough to watch that part because they, this innocent little nun, and as soon as those doors lock, like wait, and then they all just kind of turn on her, and you're like, oh,
Nuns are
this
not so
sucks.
innocent.
That was
This
just such
sucks.
a
I've seen plenty of porn.
that's just a poorly run asylum. Sorry, but like they just throw all those crazy dudes in a room. Oh, and Robert Englund's one of them.
Yeah, I noticed that
Yeah.
too.
He was just they like threw him in there.
But yeah, that's the series definitely hits a low, and they're like, well, we're out of ideas. Better just like throw in a gratuitous rape scene.
Yeah.
Like that is the rock bottom moment. Of
I
the
noticed.
series.
I noted also Lisa Wilcox, who is who does play Alice Johnson. We discussed her already. Yes, she was terrible in this one too.
Yeah, she's just not good. And they used her for 2 movies. How
See,
come
I
she
loved
gets to
her in
live?
this movie. I absolutely loved her.
Well, she
in
did
this
assert
movie.
herself. She was a bit more aggressive in 5, I think.
She looks different. They pretty her up in this movie too.
They like
Her
lightened her
character-
hair.
Yeah, her character's kind of like changed, like she's stronger in this
I liked
movie.
her
than she was
father's
in-
character more than her, honestly.
Yeah.
I forgot the guy who played that, but like he's kind of.
You sure you want a drunk at your graduation?
Yeah, that whole
She's
thing.
such a
you know.
crybaby bitch.
Yeah, but even in the end with the baby, he's all super excited. It was just kind of nice and wholesome to see that. See that within the confines of what what these films are about. It was kind of cool to see that. But yeah, 5 really, I didn't like 5. That I was not into this film. I think it sounds like we're the same with that. Michelle. It
Oh,
wasn't
I
my thing.
remember another thing from 5. They totally stole the Escher scene from Labyrinth, where all the steps are going all the different ways,
Yes.
and Jacob's
Oh, yeah,
running one
yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's completely stolen from Labyrinth. In fact, I found a screenshot where they were like right next to each other. They literally stole framing from it. Like
Wow.
the scene where like I mean, it's cool looking because it's just a cool setup.
Yeah.
But I was like, hey, nothing's original by that movie, like whatsoever.
No,
Yeah.
the idea. I mean, there was elements there, but it just. I put this really low on my list as far as like at least me. It wasn't my favorite.
Well, they were just at this point running out of creative steam. You know.
And this is what happens when a studio tries to like poop out a sequel once a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like that is not enough time. And I mean that's kind of this exactly is my concern with how rapidly Disney's trying to crank out Star Wars
Yes,
movies.
exactly.
Like franchise fatigue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the Dream Child was pretty bad, but not as bad.
Is Freddy's dead?
Fuck this movie.
I like Freddy's Dead. I like it
Why?
now. When I rewatched it, I was like, dude, this is way more fun and awesome than I remember. Like, it's like just, it completely just stops taking anything seriously. Well, actually, okay,
Somebody said
the third act.
Twin Peaks before.
Yeah,
before
they
the
actually
show?
they mentioned Twin Peaks in the movie,
Somebody did. Yeah, they're like, I just feel like I'm in an episode of Twin Peaks.
but it
or
does.
something.
It feels like an episode of Twin Peaks. And actually, the last third of the movie starts getting serious. There's actually that one scene where the girl, Freddie, takes the form of her dad that was obviously sexually abusing her. The guy that's like, give me some honey, that guy.
Yeah.
And I was like, dang, that's like some dark shit going on, And then they go into like Freddie when he was a human and he had a family.
Yeah.
And his it ends up being his daughter in
daughter.
the movie.
Yep.
And his wife found his like underground thing where he was like kept all his like killing stuff down there.
Yeah.
Like the last act of the movie is so much more serious toned up until it starts. She puts the 3D glasses on and shits off the wall again.
Here's the problem I have with Freddy's Dead. We understand that there are supernatural elements to Freddy, obviously. But the fact that he has these like 3 little demon creatures,
Sperms.
sperms that, helped create him and make him evil, I don't need that.
No.
It brought this extra level into the mythology that just didn't need to be there. Let our villains and our antagonists just be bad people that have done bad and vile things. We don't need this like stupid ass story about, he went and met with these 3 demons and they helped him become evil and blah, 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 blah. Let him be a child molesting murderer that comes to the children in their sleep.
Well, yeah,
and kills them.
let him own it.
Yeah.
Don't try to blame it on somebody else.
Yeah, like that. Nothing's gonna be creepier than the origin story he has in the first one. Yeah, he's a serial killer
Right.
who's getting revenge on the but of course by that point, like he's out of the children of the people who killed him to
Yeah.
get revenge on. So they had to make up some rationale
dude.
to extend the series.
What does he
but,
say?
like,
There's an Elm Street everywhere or some shit like
Yeah.
that.
yeah, like that's
Every
Yeah.
town has an Elm Street. That's what he says, I
and
think.
that's sort of the desperation of trying to continue the series
Yeah.
beyond its logical endpoint.
And by this point too, Freddy's dried out like a prune. Also, I'm going to point that out again. I pointed that out earlier, and I'll point it out again because the reason I'm pointing it out is he looked. I'm sorry to say this, and I know there's reasons for it, and they're very good reasons. But by this point, I mean, I think the makeup was as desperate as the film was too. It didn't look like it just looked like it literally, like you said, it was a prosthetic they threw on him real quick.
Yeah.
Well, he's just so prominent in the last ones that he's just out in the open. They don't try to hide him anymore. He's like literally just out in natural lighting, chilling.
Yeah.
This is
like
the
no
one where he
darkness.
plays video games. I think this
This
that,
is the one,
with the
yeah.
power
Yeah.
glove, which is hilarious. I don't care what anybody
Spencer's
says.
Yeah.
Spencer's death scene.
Yeah.
When they start playing, they open up with Inagata Vita on the TV set because the kid was smoking weed. So he's all tripping out. And then he gets sucked into the TV and he becomes part of the video game, which is hilarious.
I always thought that
I got
was
my
cool.
high
Playing
score.
with power.
Yeah. No, I'm playing with power.
Yeah.
Kids now probably don't even know what that phrase means anymore.
Yeah, probably not.
But yeah, there's some great cameos in this film. Alice
Oh,
Cooper,
Roseanne.
Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
Roseanne Barr, and Tom Arnold at the time. That's
When they were married,
Roseanne
right?
Arnold and Tom Arnold.
Yeah.
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 That blew me away. I forgot about that. I'm like, holy shit! Wow, and that was right in the, the middle of her big run with the TV show too.
Yeah.
So
It feels very 90s too. That movie was
God.
made in, like, what, 91? It's very 90s feeling, like their clothes and the music.
91, yeah,
Yeah.
91. So, but this movie, I actually put it as number million on my list of films. I mean, as far as like so it's probably my least favorite one of the franchise.
If they were going to do this, if they were going to do Freddy's Dead, they should have just waited a little while, come up with a better story. Don't churn it out so fast,
Just the way it
and
fucking
actually
ended.
give people a good ending to the character.
Yeah.
You're finally saying Freddy's Dead. He dies in every movie.
Yeah.
And in this one, like,
Freddy's dead.
yeah.
For real. This
And
time.
then the music. I'm like,
Yeah, she
And
just
even-
literally just is like, Freddy's dead, and it was like the end.
and that's the credits. And I mean, I've watched it a handful of times over my life, and even watching it again this week or yesterday. It was last night I watched this one, and I'm like, really? That's the best we could do here.
Yeah. Well, because they were out of.
Yeah.
I mean, I really think there's something to be said for just like 3 is where it should have ended.
Yes.
Freddy is pretty fucking dead at the end of 3, and it's a good movie.
Right.
They probably should just like leave it there. I mean, they obviously had no good idea for how to bring him back at
Yeah.
the beginning of 4. I mean, that's why, like, I don't know. That's if I'm rewatching these 1 and 3,
Yeah.
and that's it. Well, and then
And then Wes Craven,
1994.
Wes Craven fixes everything
He
yes,
with a genius fucking movie. That movie's
New
when I
Nightmare.
rewatched it, it's fucking
did.
genius.
Clever as hell.
It is.
Clever as all hell.
Like having them okay. First off, so like the beginning of the movie, the first 2/3 of the movie has its own score, and other than like a little riff on it, you don't hear the Nightmare on Elm Street theme until she actually starts becoming back in the movie.
Yeah.
And then it starts playing the old Nightmare on Elm Street
Yep.
score. And like the way that it's so meta. To me this is like Scream, proto Scream. I
Yeah.
think he was playing around with the idea of meta
Oh,
horror.
absolutely.
And like
Absolutely.
and this movie, the great thing about this movie is it wouldn't exist without one being good and the sequels mostly being bad, because the movie acknowledges that Freddy like became a joke.
Yeah.
Like they have a part where he's on a talk show and he's like, oh, Freddy Cougar, boo, ba doo. Like they acknowledge the fact
Yeah,
that
here,
he
put her
became
there, slap my hand. Ah, it's just comedy.
and there's this absolutely fabulous scene where, the actress that Heather goes to Wes Craven's house and asks him, "Hey, like, what's going on?" And he's explaining the script to her and like what Freddy actually is, which is like fucking genius idea.
Yeah.
And then they follow Wes into his study where he's typing the script, and it pans in on a script, and the script is everything they literally just been talking about. And at
Yep.
the end of the script, it says "fade to black," and then the scene fades to black.
Yeah.
I was like, that's fucking absolute genius.
yeah,
Like-
that.
And then like makes Freddy scary again, and the idea that Freddy is this entity that enters our world by being in movies. And he even says like, every once in a while you have to reboot him. Basically, you have to make another movie to trap him again, to trap him
Yeah.
within the confines of the movie. And he's like, and maybe the movie isn't that good, so it doesn't last as long. I was like, nah. It's like throws shade at all like the
Yeah.
sequels. And,
Yeah.
And Freddy's scary again. He's
That's
like an
what I was
actual
saying.
He's
demon.
pissed off.
Yeah.
Like it's just
You're in hell.
fantastic.
You are in hell. They're in hell with him. It's that whole scene. I mean, that the prop work that they did, the special effects were fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The one with his face stretching, when he was like,
Yeah, I was
you know,
eating him.
way before the Deborah Logan thing, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he was trying to. I'm going to eat you. It's like, holy fuck, man. And the kid,
Well-
I forget the kid who played there's an example of a great kid actor like screaming his head off and like a total maniac and scaring the shit out of me too. Like his screaming was very disturbing. I mean, a lot of those Scream kids, they drive me nuts. But even like in the opening, like when the opening scenes where he's just screaming at the TV set for no reason, just rah! It's like, what the hell is this? And that was disturbing. There's so much about this movie that's really great. I mean, it is. It's a genius film.
It is.
And it really played on the entire franchise. A nice way to look back and go, and make a story into it. That's so fucking.
Oh,
I honestly
smart.
can't
So smart.
remember another movie prior to that one that was a meta horror movie that actually acknowledged the tropes of horror in such a way and acknowledged other movies that came before it, like in a franchise or anything that was like self-aware.
Yeah, not within a franchise. I think Night of the Creeps is kind of the only meta horror movie before that. But the way that New Nightmare does it, I don't think any other movie has even since then.
Yeah.
It's like real personal, and like it is very much an allegory for like Wes Craven, Robert Englund. It's like this. They created this monster and it's haunting them and it won't fucking go away.
Yeah.
And it's like that artist's frustration of like, yes, I made this movie like 15 years ago. Just stop. I want to be known for other things. Like, what about all these other things
But he
that
can't
I did?
escape.
Yeah,
Like-
he can't escape Freddy.
Like Wes is so reluctantly telling, Heather about making another movie. Like he's compelled to do it. Like he doesn't want to, but it's a compulsion that is like forced upon him.
And Heather, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say another movie I saw, Human Centipede 2 is also meta in
Same
that way.
idea.
Yep.
Same idea.
Where like the people are playing, the characters are playing themselves, and there's like somebody obsessed with the movie obsessed with the first Human Centipede, so he tries to make another one in real life.
So it's what does Quentin Tarantino say about me? Like that whole that was the one girl from the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Heather actually acted. I'm sorry, she was stiff as a board in 1 and just as stiff in 3. But in New Nightmare, Heather really came into her own. You could really see the emotion. I thought.
She's playing herself.
Well, yeah,
so maybe
there's
that
a
makes
scene
it easier.
where she was like "fuck you" and just decked him, and I was like, "Whoa, that looked good." I mean, I just watched this again right before I came here tonight, so it's fresh. And there's just so much to like about this flick, and it did save. I mean, I guess you can take this movie and it does. I mean, along with the storyline, the narrative of this franchise now, this was a good way to kind of put all that stuff in perspective and make it all make sense.
Yeah.
So now you can go back and watch those movies and go, well, it was, he's real. Fuck. He is the boogeyman, and there's a whole reason why these bad movies were made. At least the ones that weren't as good as the other ones, right? Brilliant move on Wes Craven's part.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, totally awesome flick. That's where I stopped. I know. Now, do we want to talk about Freddy versus Jason?
We got a few minutes still, so yeah.
I watched, that was the last one I watched was Freddy versus Jason.
I didn't see the remake. I'm not going to see the remake. I don't give a fuck about
the
the
remake's
remake.
terrible. I don't want to
I
talk
give a
about
fuck
it. I
about the
fucking
remake.
hate it.
It's awful.
So let's just forget about that. We'll talk about Freddy versus Jason, though.
Well, Freddy vs. Jason, I remember liking it okay when it came out, and then I rewatched it, and I liked it a lot less. I feel like, for one, the entire premise of it is just stupid. I mean, I get why it's appealing, because it's like, oh man, Jason Freddy gonna fight. Yeah, it's like some 14-year-old kid was like super boner hard about it. And then but the actual movie itself is just not implemented well, and it's really boring because they try to, we all know we came here to fucking see Jason and Freddy fight. We don't care about all this other shit, and they have the worst group of teens ever compiled in the beginning, and it's boring, and you don't care about any of them. You just want to see Freddy and Jason fight,
and boobs.
it takes forever to
boobs.
get to it.
And boobs.
Well, boobs too, yeah. I have boobs, so I see them all the time, but they're not that appealing to me. But the whole first,
they are when you're a 14-year-old kid who's boner hard.
Yeah. They threw boobs in the first 1 millisecond the movie started too.
Here's the reason this movie was made. Okay? This movie was made to get drunk as hell to and have a great time. And I think I've talked about this before on the show. We saw that movie in the theater. We each had a flask in our jacket. We got fucking loaded, and the entire theater, it wasn't us, we weren't being rude. The entire theater, everybody in there came there to party. They came there to have a good time. We knew we were not walking in to a good movie.
Yeah.
We knew it was going to be bullshit before we even sat down in the seat.
Yeah.
We knew it was going to be stupid, but we were there to see Freddy and Jason fight and boobs.
Well, the thing is, I'm super into So Bad It's Good movies, so I get the idea of that, but I feel like this movie isn't so bad it's good. It's just
It's terrible.
mediocre.
No, it was bullshit.
The part where they're fighting's cool.
Yeah.
All those parts are cool, but just everything around it is really
That was
lame.
flimsy as hell.
Yeah.
Flimsy as
And
hell.
there's just a lot of like really bad early 2000s CGI.
Oh, it was terrible.
Like doesn't really have too much practical effects. And in the beginning of the film, this doesn't make sense to me. I know why am I picking apart Freddy versus Jason for continuity errors, but so in the beginning of the film, Freddy pretends to be Jason's mom, and he's like, the best thing about you is that you don't ever die. And then later he's fighting Jason, and he's like, why won't you die? And I'm like, motherfucker, didn't you just say in the beginning like that's his power? Like, why are you surprised by this? Like, I don't. Just everything about it just isn't.
It was not
it's
made to
underwhelming.
be. It was not made to be a film. Again, it was made to be a movie that you could slap in at a party, and get loaded, and just laugh your ass off at the just the absolute atrocity that the film really is.
It needed
It's not a
more
good movie.
Freddy versus Jason in it. Like, it doesn't have enough.
Yeah, because there's like maybe 20 minutes at the end. Like it's build up, fight.
Yeah, it needed more like. It would have been, and it's also like just bland looking. It's got that desaturated.
It's very
thing
flat.
That's very also early 2000s.
Very
that,
early
flat.
2000s.
Yeah.
That kind of like smooth. It's too smooth, digitally looking.
Yeah.
And it's just like they could have did more with like Freddy, Dreamworld stuff, and like Jason. Like that's like those are two really interesting ideas. Like they just do nothing with. And
It's been a while since I haven't seen the movie in a really long time. But wasn't there a part where he was pulling him in, like Jason into? I could totally be wrong. I thought there was a part where he was pulling him into like the nether regions or something, and they were kind of going in and out. And I could be totally off on this if I am. Shoot me in the head.
I don't remember that part.
There was something like
There was something
this,
where they were going back and forth.
he takes Jason into like alternate reality.
Well, yeah,
basically.
he goes into Jason's dreams. Like he, and then apparently Jason's afraid of water. Has that been a thing in the series?
Of course he's afraid of water. He drowns.
Well, I know that, but
That's why.
they don't ever bring that up in any other Jason movie, do they?
Well, they never really give Jason much characterization, and I feel like that's sort of one of the inherent problems with having him fight another villain that's like a character.
It's so
Yeah.
it's so
It's like the
flamboyant.
idea that like Jason goes to sleep and has dreams is just real alien. 'Cause,
After
like,
a hard
Jason's
day of
just like a
killing.
fucking
Yeah.
beast. Like he doesn't.
Yeah.
Like I can't imagine Jason just like getting home and being like, "Man, I'm beat. I need
Hanging
to
up
get
his
some
sword.
rest."
Oh
Like,
damn!
'cause-
Had a nightmare.
Takes his mask off, sits it on his little corner table next to a glass of water,
Yeah,
a
that's,
little glass of Chardonnay.
Yeah.
yeah. So that's
Chamomile
why,
tea.
like,
Get it right.
at its core, this whole premise is
was
just
terrible.
not nearly as easy to execute.
But there
as
was-
like Alien versus Predator. Like
Yeah.
that's totally plausible.
Well, that
But yeah,
makes
like-
sense. It's
Yeah.
like two alien things doing a thing. You're like, oh well, fuck yeah, that totally would fight.
But yeah,
But
like
again,
okay, Jason has to go to sleep, and his dreams.
This movie
have to
was
Yeah.
not made
To be good.
to be a cinematic triumph. It was never going to be planned that
They
way.
could have made it cooler.
I'm sure they
it
could
didn't
have.
have to be shitty.
But again, you already talked about the target audience for the film.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm the target audience for the film.
But
Yeah.
the thing is, this is one of those sort of just like lazy franchise.
Yeah,
like
it's lazy.
it's Freddy versus Jason. They knew
All
no
you
matter
gotta say
what
is that.
bullshit it was gonna be, people were gonna go
Yeah,
see
that's
it.
my whole
Yeah.
point.
They didn't
They-
have to make it good.
They just
But
put the
they
name Freddy
should have made
versus
it
Jason
good.
on it. That's all, and we
But
all
they
came.
could have. They
We-
could have made
They
it good.
could have, but I mean, they're
not the
they're
point.
they're a studio.
It is the
They're-
point.
Yeah.
This is why we accept mediocrity. That could have been the fight of the fucking century, man.
I agree.
yeah.
And
we
I would have
got,
loved to
like-
see the fight of the century.
And it was a wet fart in the history of horror.
Yeah. Well, and that is why, like in my head when I'm thinking about these, I don't even really put it at the end of the Elm Street chronology.
Oh, God,
No,
Like
I
to me,
just
that
watched it 'cause
series
it was
ended
the
with
yeah.
it ends with New Nightmare.
Yeah.
Like that's you couldn't have a more perfect end to a series than
Yeah.
that. Like it is just a perfect summation of all that came before, brings a full circle with Wes Craven.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Freddy
like
vs.
that's-
Jason was hilarious. It was
Yeah.
a freaking comedy.
There is
It was
one
hysterical.
There is one line I like where that one kid's like, that goalie was pissed off about something. That's the only line I think is funny in that whole movie.
Yeah.
And
That's a
stupid
good
chick
line.
from Destiny's Child is in this movie.
Oh
too.
yeah, I hate her.
She's terrible.
I was she needed to die like way before she died.
She
in that
needed
movie.
to die before the movie started.
Oh dang!
Damn.
Oh shit.
Dude, she's just a terrible actress.
Shit just got real.
It would have
Shit
made
just
the
got
movie
real.
better though.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, like what is it? Like the first 3 seconds, there's boobs.
Yeah,
And
literally.
I remember again. This is one of those movies I remember so vividly being in the theater because we went there knowing we were going to see shit. We were like, we're going to see the dumbest movie this year. We're going to get fucked up. It's going to be hilarious, dude. And we went in there, and it's one of my greatest memories because of seeing movies because everybody in there had a flask. We were all getting shit faced.
I went
and
to like a
popcorn's
boring
flying.
showing. Nobody did anything cool.
Dude, it was nuts. Everybody was
sad.
We were jumping up and down and screaming and yelling and shit. It was completely off the hook. It was nuts.
Well, like in the end when they're fighting, it's like a wrestling match. Like everybody's got their person they pick. Like who's
And we were up.
Team Jason, Team Freddy.
Everybody was up, jumping around, dude, and we got done. We were all like, ugh, and we just come rolling out of the theater all hammered because we were drinking the whole time. It was great, dude.
Freddy would win every time, though. Freddy's smarter than Jason.
He is.
He is.
Yeah, Jason's just got brute strength on him. That's pretty much it.
He gets he gets a hold. He's like an MMA fighter. He gets a hold of you.
Yeah.
He gets you on the ground. It's all over with, dude. But they can't do the toe to toe thing on the with the fists.
I will
Freddy's
say
fist
the
guy.
kill in the beginning where he folds that dude backwards in the fucking bed.
Oh, it's fucked.
That's awesome looking.
They had a weigh-in in Vegas, too. Nice, Liam.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, that fold scene. Yeah, after he just got done, more boobs.
Yeah.
That was pretty hard to watch. That was
Rocky
tough.
Road?
Rocky.
Dawn's cracking me up tonight.
Oh, it's time.
Jason is like Chunk from Goonies. Hey, Goonies.
He is.
Goonies.
Yeah, you're wearing that's where they got. Yeah, he's wearing the Goonies shirt. You're wearing the Goonies shirt tonight.
Yeah.
So we're pretty far into this thing.
Yeah. I mean,
All in all, like I said earlier, this was a challenge to really pound through all this stuff. But I'm glad I did it. It was fun, and I'll end up doing it again because these are really great films.
Yeah, they're like you said, they're fun and they have a lot of they're very colorful, literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
Maybe we could have a poll and people could pick from on the site which franchise we go through next.
Well, I'm actually going to ask right now. We kind of breezed through all these movies in an hour and a half. What other franchises would you like to see us talk about on the podcast? And what other movies would you like us to talk about? So comment on the stream. We'll put it on the Facebook page too. We want some ideas.
Yeah, because these are a lot of fun, and we really get into this stuff too.
Yeah.
This takes work to do these shows.
We should do
but it's fun work.
Child's Play.
See, that was another one that drove me nuts.
I haven't even seen all those.
But I'd like to sit
I've
down.
not seen
Seen
all
like
those.
4 or 5.
I've not
Chucky
seen
was
most
Chucky
of
was one of those
those.
ones. I wasn't into Chucky growing up.
Yeah, I was never too fond of those.
But I'd like to challenge and
Yeah.
maybe sit down and actually watch these movies.
Yeah.
And really try to understand them.
We should do Phantasm.
Oh,
Oh.
dude, that's the
That would be
shit.
fun.
Yeah.
Did we ever do an entire
Phantasm
one on the Friday the 13th series or no?
I don't
Did we
think-
do
No.
that whole
I don't
series?
think we did.
We did Texas Chainsaw though. We
Texas
did that.
Chainsaw we did, yeah.
I'm going to point out that this is the week with a Friday the 13th in it, so we probably fucked up.
Damn it.
Oh, dude.
There's going to be another one in a couple years. I don't know when.
We'll wait
Maybe next year.
We'll wait for episode number 3,000 or whatever it's going to be. I don't know.
313.
300.
However,
Yeah.
I'm going to say watching all 11, 12 Jason movies would have been way, way more of a drag than doing this.
I only
Those
own the
get
first
Much
8 or 9.
That's
think-
going to
I
get that gets
have
tedious.
all of them. I've not watched all. Those get a lot more samey than these.
Yeah,
the
oh, yeah.
surrealism in these, the outlandish special effects, that at least keeps these fun.
It keeps you interested.
I don't think I could watch a dozen Jason movies.
Well, and Freddy makes them at least worthwhile.
Yeah.
Because you're waiting for him to say or do something
Yeah,
cool.
and that's what
Yeah.
that's what I did really enjoy. As much as I'm turned off by what Freddy became, it's still fun. Like I said, oh, look
Yeah.
at me, I got my high score.
and also
shit's
that
great, dude.
The good movies are scattered all throughout the franchise.
Yeah.
But 1, 3, and New Nightmare are the really good ones.
Fantastic.
It's not okay, 1 and 2 are good and 3's okay, and then there's 8 movies of shit.
Like Hellraiser.
Like Hellraiser, yeah.
Oh, you guys are fucked for saying that. We'll have a whole fight over that one show. We'll have the battle royale over Hellraiser.
You know I'm a big Hellraiser.
I think that'd be a
Bloodline
pretty
fan.
good
I know,
But
I
after
know,
that,
I know.
it's all over.
I know, yeah, Bloodline, yeah, and we discussed Bloodline. Bloodline's
Yeah.
great. That's an awesome flick. All right,
Okay.
we beat the hell out of ourselves here. We've earned our time off.
Yes.
Because I know we all watch these films. We
Yeah.
all spend a lot of time on this.
I've seen these
It was
movies
great.
dozens of times. So
This was great. This was really great. I'm glad I did it. It was cool. I have the box set at home, so it was like, wow, let's break this thing out and make it happen. So
Yeah. This was fun.
look out for endless promotion for our next one of these because it actually really seemed to help this week. We got a lot more people watching, so pretty
Awesome.
cool.
who's all? Oh, hi everybody.
Yeah, hi everybody. I think we need to start doing call-ins soon too.
Oh God, no.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't want that.
That would be hilarious.
What? We got this camera. Isn't that enough?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
dude,
But
dude.
call-ins would just be hilarious, though.
No, well,
I have to
really.
wear pants now at the podcast because we're on camera. It's
But
bullshit.
I just noticed.
Holy crap!
Have to is a
That's
strong
what one.
word.
That's what
Yeah.
one of those looks like. Wow.
All right,
14-year-olds
everybody.
with boner hard.
This
hard
was-
boner.
Episode 80, the red and green episode of Real Crime. We'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.
Visit us at www.themoviesleuth.com and find The Movie Sleuth on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and iTunes.